All right, let's talk about one of the biggest mysteries out there, consciousness. But today, we're going to look at it from a totally wild new angle. We're not just asking what it is, we're asking what shape it might have.
Yeah, just let that sink in for a second. We usually think of consciousness as this abstract thing, right? Like software running on the hardware of our brain. But what if it's more than that? What if it has a real, tangible geometry? A specific physical form that our brain's activity creates in any given moment. That's the absolutely mind-bending idea we're diving into.
So here's the core claim from a really fascinating new theory. It says a part of your brain doesn't just fire, it rings. You know, like a bell. And the unique quality of that ringing, that's our subjective experience. And this ringing isn't just random noise. It has a very precise shape. And that's what we're going to unpack.
And the crucial thing here is we're moving past just pure philosophy. This idea of a ringing brain, as poetic as it sounds, is actually designed to be a scientifically grounded hypothesis. And most importantly, it's something we can actually test.
According to this theory, you can break consciousness down into three main physical parts. It's kind of like a recipe. You need the right shape of brain activity, you need waves of synchronized resonance, and you need the stabilizing effect of something akin to spin. If you get those three things, geometry, resonance, and spin working together, bam, you get conscious experience.
So let's really dig into this triad. How on earth do these three physical properties combine to create something as incredibly rich and complex as your inner world?
Let's use some simple analogies to make sense of this. Think of geometry as the actual workspace. You know, the stage where the play of consciousness happens. Then you have resonance, which is like the broadcast system that sends information all across that stage. And finally, you have spin, which is the subtle fine-tuning knob that keeps the whole show running smoothly. Let's take a closer look at each one.
Okay, first up is geometry. Picture the trillions of connections between your neurons, creating a kind of energy landscape inside your head. This landscape has deep, stable valleys and shaky, unstable hills. So when you focus on something, your brain's activity doesn't just wander around randomly. It naturally settles into one of those low-energy valleys. This stable shape, which scientists call a manifold, is the geometric workspace for your thoughts.
But wait, how do all these separate little bits of information become one single unified experience? I mean, how does red and round and bouncy become a red ball? Well, that's where resonance comes in. Through synchronized brainwaves, resonance gets all the different parts of your brain that are processing those features to hum at the exact same frequency. This phase locking is what binds everything together. It's like the brain's internal broadcast system saying, hey everyone, we're all talking about the same thing right now.
And now for the third, and maybe the most subtle ingredient, spin. Physicists call it geometric phase. The best way to think about it is like that little click you feel when a gear locks into place. It's a detent. Now, these tiny physical effects don't create consciousness by themselves, but they act as a powerful, stabilizing force on those big resonant patterns we just talked about. They're what help hold your conscious state together, keeping it from just dissolving into chaos from one moment to the next.
Okay, so this all sounds like a really cool story, right? But how do we know if any of it is actually true? Well, this is where the theory gets really exciting. It makes specific, concrete predictions that scientists can actually test in a lab. It moves from being a neat idea to becoming real predictive science.
So check out prediction number 1. If the shape of the brain's ringing is what truly matters, not just the raw amount of energy, then we should be able to test that. Think of consciousness as a specific melody. Now, you could play that melody loud or soft, but it's still the same melody. But what if you kept the volume the same and just rearranged all the notes into random noise? The prediction here is that if you use a tool like TMS to specifically scramble the melody, to disrupt that geometric pattern, awareness should just disappear, even if the brain's overall energy level doesn't change at all.
And here's how you could test that spin part. Remember how it acts like a gear, locking things in place? Well, this theory predicts we can actually interfere with that lock. So you know those optical illusions like the Necker cube that seem to flip back and forth? The idea is, if you apply a very weak magnetic field, you should be able to change how long each version of the cube sticks in your mind. We could actually make your perception more jumpy and unstable, without ever changing what you're actually looking at. How cool is that?
So where does this new spin geometry resonance idea fit in with all the other big theories of consciousness out there? Well, what's really interesting is that it doesn't necessarily have to replace them. In a lot of ways, it kind of gives them a physical foundation to stand on.
Yeah, instead of competing, this theory could act like a bridge. Take global workspace theory, for instance. It says consciousness happens when information is broadcast in a central workspace. This new theory says, hey, maybe that big resonant loop is the physical workspace we've been looking for. Or for integrated information theory, which talks about how much information is being combined, well, the complex shape of the brain's geometric landscape could be a direct physical measurement of that very integration. It gives a physical how to what other theories have been describing more abstractly.
All right, so after all this talk about manifolds and phase locking and geometric phases, why does any of this actually matter to you? How does it connect back to your own personal, moment-to-moment experience of being alive?
It matters because these three ingredients might be the very things that create your stable, unified inner world. The resonance provides the binding that makes all your senses feel whole and connected. The geometry provides the workspace for access, which is what allows you to actually report on what you're experiencing. And that subtle spin provides the stability that turns what could be a series of flickering snapshots into a smooth, continuous stream of consciousness. I want to leave you with this really beautiful quote from the researchers because I think it just perfectly captures the elegance of this whole idea. The notion that for just a brief moment, a physical system inside your head, your brain, creates a geometric hum that is a model of the world and of itself inside that world. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Try thinking about your own awareness right now through this new lens. How's your inner signal doing today? Does it feel phase-locked, clear, focused, steady? Or does it feel a bit more like noise, kind of scattered, jumpy, or all over the place? It's a pretty fascinating new way to think about the very shape of our own minds. Thanks for tuning in.